For a film about the destruction of Earth, Melancholia is quite unique in the fact of how restrained it is. The plotline of the titular planet doesn't actually enter the narrative until the second half of the film. That is, unless you consider the opening montage, which depicts several key events of the film, including a shot from space of two planets colliding. And this is really interesting, because Lars von Trier isn't necessarily known for being a restrained director, having created controversial works such as Antichrist and Nymphomaniac. However, while he doesn't hold back from brutal themes, he has been known to invert story expectations. And this aspect of von Trier's work is really important to understanding why Melancholia stands out as an atypical apocalypse film. He upends the entire genre and presents his story in a manner that almost misses the point of an end-of-the-world film, because he has an ulterior point to make. The first notable aspect of the film's distinction from the genre is how removed it is from the destruction of Earth in its entirety. The director chooses to spend the first half of the film focusing on Justine's descent into depression on her wedding night, completely evading the threat that will move the entire second half of the film. Von Trier does this because he prefers to focus on a few individuals' experiences of such a catastrophe, rather than emphasize the scale of its destruction. In this way, the film doesn't feel like a typical end-of-the-world narrative, and throws the viewer off guard when the planet does enter the picture. And this has a unique effect on how we perceive the rest of the film. Accustomed to already analyzing a character's internal conflict, it seems natural to focus on Claire's distress. However, as expressed in one of the opening tableaus, we understand that Claire is absolutely right to be afraid. This foreknowledge allows us to identify with Claire, rather than see her as irrational and dismiss all of her fears. This development, about halfway into the second chapter, is a sort of reversal of the characters' roles. Justine, once distraught with depression, becomes tranquil and accepting, while Claire, who cared for Justine and tried to help her in the past, loses her calm and is hysterical over the events she knows to come. The film's first chapter is about one sister's inability to cope with life, and the second is about the other's inability to cope with death. Each chapter aptly named for the sister who has the central role in that section. This is by no means a change of characterization, but it actually displays how people perceive and cope with oncoming death. Justine's attempts to run from life at her reception are mirrored by Claire trying to escape the estate, and both realize that what they're running from can't be escaped. Claire, unable to leave the estate, is trapped in a sort of limbo as she watches what will be the cause of her death slowly approaching. But Justine, after having ran and failed in the past, accepts Earth's fate and tries to help Claire do the same. The only one who can't eventually accept death is John, the only one who had complete certainty over the safety of his own life. It's these reactions and realizations that put Melancholia in a league apart from the other films of its genre. It's more common to see apocalyptic films that take place before the inciting event deal with themes of survival and perseverance, but in contrast to plots centered around taking action to survive, Melancholia presents characters incapable of action due to the inevitability of the oncoming destruction. We're forced to focus not on what the characters do, but the anxieties that they're expressing. And since most apocalyptic films are about larger themes, it's important to realize that Melancholia is a deeply personal and human film, focusing not on political issues or philosophies, but on what it feels like to realize that soon you are going to die. And while many stories of this nature end with ambiguity or even hope, it's fitting that Melancholia removes any semblance of a happy resolution from its ending. And that's because it's not a film about environmental awareness or the perseverance of man. It's about death and how we find ourselves attempting to cope with the knowledge that we aren't immortal. I think that we need more apocalyptic films from such a personal perspective, because though there may be a bigger picture, it's important to realize that something like this can often feel like this.